Oh my gosh, you guys, look who I found. I found Elizabeth Valise. You know, I kept telling you she was on site, but the reality is she was at conference after conference after conference. And she was on site doing her thing. So welcome back, Elizabeth Valise.
Hi. Hello.
Oh my gosh, we could literally do probably 3 or 4 hours. So it's going to be hard to keep it to our normal 20 swag. We may go a little bit longer, but hey, you all, my name is Shelly Smith, co-founder with Elizabeth Valise on the Culture Hour. And, you know, we started this gig after an excitement, ironically enough, of something that we had done together, of course. And one thing led to another and said, my gosh, there's so many hot topics to talk about. And sometimes, as you guys know, Elizabeth and I agree, and sometimes we agree to disagree, or we're like, disagree venomously, and then we come back and go, oh, okay, yeah, well, maybe you're right. So at any rate, the Fab Two are back together here. So we're gonna have some fun with y'all today. So truly, Elizabeth just came back from National SHRM. So we want to get some tidbits from her on that as well, and perspectives. And so with that, Elizabeth, just you were so excited when we first got on before we started recording. Show everybody your notebook that you took to National. And again, like, she filled up almost a third of it, well, half of it. And she is a note taker, I will say, but not that much.
No.
So it must, you know, you must have enjoyed your thing. So you said you went to a couple of them that were really great. But first, before we dive in, you know, let's talk about why you should go to conventions, period. Why you should keep your game up in your field, or even the field that you serve. So give us your 2 cents on that.
So, you know, prior to Shelly hitting the record button, we were talking about, you know, we go to these conferences and we listen and we're like, how do people not know this? Like, these people are not telling us things that are new to anybody, right? They shouldn't be new to anybody. But I think that I know that with 17 plus years in HR directly and indirectly at this point in my career, I had several aha moments, and moments where I was like, I know this. How did I miss this? Why am I not doing this? And I think that the old adage, sometimes you can't see the trees through the forest, or the forest through the trees, or however the hell you say that.
Yeah.
I think that is so true. I think sometimes we're so in the weeds that it takes going to a conference. And I'm not here to do a plug for National SHRM or any one conference over the other. I think you need to pick your professional development opportunities based on your field and where you want to grow and how you want to advance in your career. Yeah. But let me tell you something, Shelly. I went to this conference in Chicago. I did not have high expectations. I'm not going to lie, because have had several colleagues that have gone to National in the last few years, and they've been like, meh, it was okay. The keynote speakers were the bomb, but the concurrent sessions, not so much. This conference was incredible. Keynote speakers, Adam Grant, professor at Wharton School of Business and former employee, I think he worked with Sheryl Sandberg. We had Oscar Munoz, the CEO of United Airlines. We had our fearless leader, Johnny Taylor Jr., who also gave really, really great information and was just friggin' hilarious. He has not lost his touch. In 12 years, he has not lost his touch. We also had, believe it or not, Jeb Bush. And, you know, all politics aside, I sat there going, I never thought I'd be clapping for a Republican. Like, where were you, brother, during the election? Because I might have just voted for you, okay? He was amazing. And then we ended up with Sheryl Sandberg being interviewed by Adam Grant. It was incredible. Great keynotes. But the concurrent sessions, I have to tell you, out of all the ones that I attended, I'm going to say 85 to 90% of them were pretty amazing. And that is rare, because I'm a speaker and I've done conferences. I've been a speaker at conferences. You've been a speaker at conferences. So I think we look at these things with a different set of lenses than just kind of regular participants do. I was really blown away.
Cool. So what was a couple?
So I went to one in particular called The Neuroscience of Engagement. And this is by a gentleman called David Rock. And David is, I think, the founder of the Neuro Leadership Institute in New York. I believe that's the name of it.
Okay.
And again, I'm not plugging any one consultant or another, because the two best consultants you'll ever see in the world are sitting right here, okay? But I will tell you that he's talking about the chemicals and the literal biology behind how we think and how we behave and what drives our engagement and what doesn't. And he goes off into this topic and he says, hey, anybody in the room here responsible for leadership development, like teaching people? And of course, I raised my hand because that's kind of my gig here at Virginia Premier. And he starts talking about, I need you to think about capacity. And he said, but I need you to think about capacity in a different way. I'm not talking about a person's capacity to learn. Can they actually absorb the material? Are they actually going to do something with the material? But how many of you are putting these people in 3-hour-long sessions, 2-hour-long sessions? And then he goes into the science behind why you can't do that. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh my God, my first leadership development session here was 3 hours long.
So was he suggesting to nip it down into the 20-minute segments?
Shorter. He didn't say specifically, hey, we want you to do it in 20 minutes, but he wanted to just get it out there and say, you have to think about a human being's capacity to really focus and pay attention and absorb the material, not from an intellectual capacity, but just the human brain and how it's wired. He also talks about that when you there's this model that he uses called the SCARF model, and it's a model to talk about how kind of the fight or flight instinct. And let me tell you, he broke it down into 3 levels, right? He said people feel threatened, and anytime a person feels a level of threat, they're not going to be engaged. They're not going to listen. They're not going to participate. And I know, David, if you're watching, I'm not doing your presentation justice, which is why you get paid the big bucks to do this, okay? But he talked about these things take away from employee engagement. And there are 3 levels of threat that a person psychologically, neurologically feels, right? Level 1, you're alert, but you're not alarmed. Like, let's say you're standing in a park and you hear in the distance the roar of a bear. Okay, I'm alert, sounds really far away, not necessarily alarmed. I know there's a threat there, not freaking out. Okay, level 2, you're quite alert and you're a little alarmed. I hear the bear and it sounds closer. Now I'm kind of like, okay, there's something going on here. And level 3 is you're very alert and you're very alarmed. Now, not only do you hear the bear, but you're seeing the trees right next to you rustling, right? He equated this to people at work and people in the workplace. And if you have a person, whether it's because of your communication, whether it's because of the way people are being treated, whether it's because of the lack of communication, you have to think about what level of threat am I creating for this person? Because the higher the level of threat, the less engaged, the more the walls are going to come up and they're just not going to engage in their work. When I tell you, I was listening to him and I was like, I never thought of it that way. And I never thought about the chemicals that your brain releases that trigger these responses in you. So I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm going to be reaching out to him, have him come and do a session on the neuroscience of leadership, so that people can understand the fight or flight reaction, the amygdala hijack, like all of those things. And I was like, oh my God, I started thinking about it. And I'm like, I see see this in leaders, in organizations, and leaders in
Yeah.
my organization.
You
And
know,
yeah,
I recently, and now I want to give credit to who said this, but I don't remember who it was. A couple of things. We were talking about the snippets, interestingly enough, of it's better to have, 30-minute, 20-minute sessions, to your point, than 30-minute. You think you don't have the ability to get the information out, but you do. I mean, think about a couple of things. Think about the Disrupt HR. Those are 5-minute presentations, and look at how much you can articulate in 5 minutes, enough to, provoke the brain. Think about the TED Talks. The TED Talks are 15, 20 minutes.
I know.
It's enough to get you, but we don't do that. The other thing that is a conversation that I had with a group of women who we all talked. All of a sudden, we had this huge epiphany of, when we walk, run, jog, whatever you want to call it, we do it to release our stress, and we get the most amazing ideas when we do it. Well, the reality is, the science behind it is, it's the endorphin that is rising up. So
Yep.
I literally just had this conversation last week or a week and a half ago, and we all were like, yeah. And I said, I often, I go because of the stress, but I always feel so much better afterwards. It would be magic if I got in shape while I was doing it. But the reality, the motivation behind the why, isn't I'm stressed and I can't think. And I'm just like, I got to take a break, and I got to go take a walk. I got to sweat. I got to, whatever. And it's because of everything that you just articulated. So that's really interesting. Obviously, we were in two completely different zones and heard the same message. The other thing is that I haven't typed up the blog, but I was sitting doing my morning, routine of meditation and journaling. And I was in my backyard on the porch, and I just had this conversation a couple of days ago with my husband, the fact that the squirrels are so busy. So I'm sitting there with my journal and my little note in hand. I'm looking up, looking at the trees, and I'm watching the squirrels, go crazy in the backyard. And it all of a sudden occurred to me, to your bear story, see if this, resonates or not. I was like, in business, we so often see the squirrels collecting because they know something is coming in the winter. And we're like, yeah, we've seen it, we've heard it. The squirrels know something, the forecasters know something that we don't know. Look at them running around like they're crazy. And we either jump in at business and start going, wait, we're supposed to be doing something, we're supposed to be moving like the squirrels do. Or we're like, yeah, we'll see if that winter, actually comes. And then it comes, we go into a scramble, meaning the economy changes and we're like, oh crap, all those people, all those squirrels gave us the warning and we didn't listen. So it's that same sort of analogy. So that's just interesting that you bring that up, because literally we're running in the same lane in two different worlds, and we're getting the same messages.
And it's really, but it's very validating that it's not, a lot of times people say, oh, you pay all this money for conferences, those people are a bunch of jokers. Let me tell you something. If you could walk away with one nugget that you can implement, that you can drive sustainable change and sustainable improvement in your organization, the conference is worth it. And I came back with a third of a notebook filled with things that I am going, and again, I'm a vice president. I've been doing this for a long time. I own my own consulting business.
You know what I wish they did though, because it's, you go and you come back all energized with your notebooks and all that. And it's always interesting when you are cleaning your office or your space and you come across a notebook from a conference a long time ago, and you're like, and you stop and you read it like you're reading your diary, and you're like, why didn't I do that? Yeah. So I love the conferences, but if there was a way to capture the follow-up behind the conferences and a sales call from the person who was in there, but something that is like a tidbit, I think they would be more impactful. But, I do that with some people, and I know that some of the clients that I have, when people are brought in, we started creating the 30-day, the 60-day, the 90-day, reiterating the messages, because if not, it gets lost. And the reason why I like bringing the stuff to the client instead of sending them out is because usually only 1 or 2 people are sent, and we come back and we're so pumped up and we want to talk to somebody, and we're like, nobody went to the conference with us. Yeah. And then it's, it's all up to us. But
so I think it's 2 things. What I do is I came back with my notebook, and I'm going through the process of highlighting a couple of things. and then I'm prioritizing them. And I've already had a discussion with my CEO about, I want to present you a small PowerPoint on things that I want to do. I think that you have to have a leader at the top of the organization that's willing to listen and is willing to see value in sending you to these things.
Yeah.
And then you have to stop using the B word. Oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Let me tell you something. People here know how I feel about that. You make time for what's important. This is important to me, and
So
I'm making time for it. I'm making time for it. And you of all people know the crazy world that I live in.
Yeah.
Right? 6-year-old at home, almost 6 years old.
Yeah.
An executive level position. We just moved. Like there aren't enough things going around right now that
But you do make time for the things that,
I do make time for the things that are really, really important. So
the other, just to that point, and kind of a tip for the viewers, is another conversation I had. It was actually on Dr. Sarah Spradlin, EQ expert. She's also an adjunct professor in Michigan, and so I was on as a guest speaker. And our topic was about how do you embrace and make change in succession planning, for example. And so we got off on topic a little bit, which is pretty easy for me to do, and started talking about competencies and this and that. And they said, well, how do you measure a goal that's written down from a performance review that's tied to a specific competency about education, about going out, business acumen, going to a conference? How do you quantify that? And I was like, when you come back from the conference, first of all, who's ever approving the conferences need to understand what are you going to get out of it and what are you going to be back to the team. And you have an upfront agreement of, this is what I agree to do. Like, these are the sessions, because there's always an agenda. I'm going to go to these sessions. I'm hoping to get this, XYZ. And then when you come back, you quantify it with a bit of a summary. So you don't have to write a dossier, but you quantify what you learned or maybe what you didn't learn. But there is usually, come on now, at least one takeaway. Even
at
the worst
least one.
Give you something.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So bringing it back, I love that you said, do a quick PowerPoint, present it to your boss, but definitely recap with your team and share. And if you do have people that go with you in your organization, then you both come back and compare notes and say to the organization, this is what we learned. This is what we could do. This is what we can roll out. This is what we need to hire somebody to roll out. This is, whatever. So to your point, you get out of it what you put into it, which is what life is all about. And it's the same thing with, the conference pieces.
Yeah.
So, wow, we were already, I think, 20 minutes plus in. So I told y'all we could just keep going on. We're sisters who haven't seen each other for a while. So seeing each other on tape is an exciting piece. So we're going to wrap up this culture hour talking about conferences. So we encourage you to, what's the last conference you went to? What's the last book you read? What's the last networking group you went to? And what did you take away from it? What did you learn? What did you share? And what are you going to do about it? It doesn't do any good if you just go, it's on you. So until the next time with the Culture Hour with Elizabeth and I or a guest, peace out. Have a great day. Remember, culture matters, and one person can make an impact because it starts with you.